My name is Mario Venegas. I am a board member of Sierra Leone, and I am also volunteering several human rights organizations in the Chicago area, like Amnesty International in Evanston, like Illinois Coalition Against Torture, like the School of the Americas Watch, and many others. And I've been asked to do some remarks, start with our luncheon. Sorry to interrupt while you're eating, but still you can continue eating while I'm going to be talking. We would like to recognize some special partners who are here with us today. I would like them to stand so that people will know where you are sitting at the table or in the room. First, Guatemalan indigenous leader, Miriam Pixtun from Guatemala. Where is Miriam? Can you stand so people see where you are sitting? They can come later and talk to you probably. Miriam is from the mining resistance movement in La Puya, Guatemala, accompanied here by Catherine Johnson from the Guatemalan Human Rights Commission. Welcome, Catherine. For 2 years, the La Puya community successfully blockaded a U.S. gold mining company from setting up operation on their ancestral lands. Though the Guatemalan police broke the blockade, allowing equipment to enter for the first time, the community reestablished its blockade and non-violent resistance. Alexis Trombolis, director of CISPES. CISPES Committee in solidarity with the people of El Salvador in Washington, D.C. Chicago CISPES was one of the founding organizations of Sierra Leone in 1989. CISPES has been a leader in the global coalition seeking to ban metallic mining in El Salvador. Thank you. Sarah Thompson, the new director of Christian Peacemaker Team. CPT has been a long-time partner with Sierra Leone, support in Colombia, and to U.S. military aid to human rights, to stop military aid to human rights in Colombia. Ravi Brandt Rosen. Long-time rabbi at Jewish Reconstructionist congregation in Evanston, has been a courageous leader and an inspiration to so many of us, from leading prayers at the Broadway Detention Center to blocking the street in protest of mass deportation. Last month, he and the congregation hosted our largest gathering yet of the immigrant welcoming congregations with 250 people, including Representative Chakosky and State Senator Daniel Bliss. Although Brandt's time in JRC is ending, we're thrilled that he has been named the new director of the Midwest Region for American Friends Service Committee. Reverend Myron McCoy. He's the new senior pastor at Chicago Temple First United Methodist Church. The Chicago Temple has been a faithful partner in offering its downtown space for Sierra Leone gatherings and events. Thank you. Leslie Combs, Director for the U.S. District Director for U.S. Representative Jan Chakosky. Leslie. Representative Jan Chakosky is a tenacious fighter to human rights in our hemisphere. Last June, Jan Chakosky organized a congressional letter to Secretary of State John Kerry addressing police and military impunity in Honduras. Signed by unprecedented 108 members of Congress last month. Last month, Jan publicly endorsed the New Sanctuary Movement, the second member of Congress to do so after Representative Raul Rivaja from Arizona. Thank you, Leslie. Not sure if Teresa Pucar is here. Teresa Pucar? No. Well, she is District Director for U.S. Representative Luis Gutierrez. So again, big round of applause to all these people that honored us today being here with us. Let me make some remarks opening our big lunch today. I just want to share with you some of my thoughts about the humanitarian crisis at the borderline. It's actually, to me, a U.S. foreign policy crisis. The root causes of migration and U.S. funding of the drug war and the corrupt Central American regimes, especially Honduras. The heartbreaking stories emanating from the immigration detention centers near the border have rightly been making the news. However, the U.S. media has largely ignored the real lessons from the increasing number of unaccompanied minors being detained near the U.S. border. The humanitarian crisis has not been caused by the criminal nature of the people of Central America, not by irresponsible parenting, as they say, or the cliché pursuit of the American dream. Children and their families are coming to the U.S. to survive. At its roots, they are too often trying to escape the devastating consequences of past and present U.S. foreign policy in the region. The number of children attempting to cross the border into the United States has risen dramatically the last 5 years. In the year 2009, roughly 6,000 unaccompanied minors were detained near the border. The projections are that, even made by the Department of Homeland Security, that it will be 74,000 minors being detained at the end of 2014, I'm sorry. Approximately 28 of the children detained this year are from Honduras, 24 from Guatemala, and 21 from El Salvador. Particularly severe increase in Honduras migration are a direct result of the June 28th coup that was headed by the School of the Americas graduate military people. Since 2008, the U.S. has spent over $800 million in security aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. The region will never be cured of its ills without an honest, fact-based reevaluation and a resulting reimplementation of U.S. foreign policy. Increased militarization under the pretext of the drug war has led to massive human rights violations, including illegal land grabs and the persecution of indigenous and grassroots leaders, too often at the hands of the military and police funded and trained, as I said before, at the School of the Americas here in Georgia. Honduras have 5 years already after the coup of militarization and repression. I'm not going to go in deep details about that because we are probably going to hear about this from our special speaker today, Karla. I've been mentioning the School of the Americas and Fort Benning. I have a special reason why I am so strong in closing this school. I'm a survivor of torture in Chile during the Pinochet regime, and the two officers that tortured me are well identified as being graduates of the School of the Americas when it was in Panama. Then later on, they moved it into Georgia. So I know very well why I'm there every year supporting the movement of the School of America's Watch to close down the school. This year, again, November 21st to 24th, we'll be there. Southern will gather there for a weekend of talks by movement leaders from all over the world, especially people invited from Latin America to talk, musicians to perform, and conference like workshops and a lot of films are going to be shown there. We are asking you to join the delegation of Sierra Leone that is coming this year to Fort Benning on the 21st to 23rd of November. If you like to do it, you can contact people from the movement, from Sierra Leone, especially Stephanie, or Stephanie somewhere around here, and there's Stephanie. You can talk to her if you'd like to join this delegation. And also Sharon Hunter-Smith. Where is Sharon? Right there. You can talk to her if you'd like to join us. Now, just briefly, some Sierra Leone accomplishments. Sierra Leone achievement from the Chicago New Sanctuary Coalition has accomplished many things this year. Over a year ago, a group of us left this luncheon to walk directly to Immigration Custom Enforcement, ICE, offices to protest failure of forward movement on immigration reform. We're still waiting for that reform to come. So we are still protesting, we're still demanding, we're still trying to get this reform, which will be probably even more difficult now. And you know why? Because unfortunately for the election that we have last Tuesday. Now, in the context of the other most recently accomplishment was when we support Beatriz Santiago Ramirez, who took sanctuary at Our Lady of Guadalupe mission. I understand Reverend from Guadalupe is here. Reverend, where are you? No? Reverend Landaverde has been given, and finally the deportation for Beatriz has stopped. He is not going to be deported, and that's a big triumph. Now, in the context of Honduras, we have had a number of things. Delegation went last year for the elections in Honduras in November, just a year ago. And they had a tremendous role there, was organized this visit by the Honduran Solidarity Movement there, but they went there. Number of 12 of our members were there, among 165 election observers. Now in July, Sierra Leone co-organized the visit of Honduran gay activist Nelson Arambu to Chicago and Washington, D.C. We are working strong in defense of the LGTB members in Honduras, which had been terribly repressed and assassinated. So with all these remarks, I leave you, and we're going to call Cindy Holland to the podium. Cindy, board member 2. Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you, Mario. If you look in your programs, you'll see that it says, I'm talking about a special thank you. Well, the object of the thanks does not know that he is being thanked here and now. So just to set the stage, I'm going to ask that person to stand up before I start my remarks. And that person is Dick Heidkamp. Where are you? Dick, where are you? Oh. Please. We want this to be pleasurable, not an ordeal. So we do want to take just a minute or two to honor a remarkable man, Dick Heidkamp. Dick has been a mainstay of CRLN for many years. He's an accomplished, a masterful fundraiser, and an inexhaustible wellspring of new ideas and fearless actions to go with them. Just before lunch, he was telling me about yet another good idea that just came from his fertile brain. I had had some sense of his talents before I joined the development committee of the CRLN board a couple of years ago, but I was totally unprepared for this force of nature, whom I soon began to experience firsthand. After 25 hand-to-mouth years, CRLN needed to raise some serious money. It was a big change for CRLN, and we were approaching it with some trepidation. Then, enter Dick Heidkamp, and everything changed. Whatever fundraising target the committee proposed, Dick shot down. Too little. We need more and we can get more. And each time a target was hit, Dick would blast right through it and move on to a higher one. He taught me, he taught all of us, I think, a lot about not taking no for an answer. He gobbled up lists of people to call and then just did it. Here's some new lists. Can anybody make the calls? No? Well, I can. And he did, over and over again. And we raised some real money. I'm sure many of you in this room were on the receiving end of some of those calls. I was, and I know how it feels. You do feel a little as if you'd been run over by a truck. But it didn't really hurt, and by the end, you felt as if you were sitting right in the cab with Dick. And that's the thing. His enthusiasm is so great, so deeply and not naively anchored, that he just pulls you in for the ride. Dick is a gardener. He's planted a lot of seeds for CRLN. In some ways, I'd say I'm one of them. But he also plants seeds in his own yard. Therefore, we thought it appropriate to honor Dick's exceptional contributions to CRLN's 25th anniversary rededication, to honor it with seeds. 25 packets, each with a different kind of seed. And if his gardening's anywhere near as good as his fundraising, we can look forward to some bumper crops. Now, you just saw Dan Dale, I hope you just saw Dan Dale, our outgoing chairman of the board of CRLN, bring a basket over to Dick. In the basket were our seeds and an autumn harvest from Dan's garden. The seeds are a variety of heirloom tomato seeds. They represent the seeds that Dick helped plant through CRLN. Dan points out that heirloom seeds are saved by local growers and communities throughout Latin America, and they're a form of resistance to global corporate capitalism that threatens to undermine indigenous economies. They're part of the struggle for self-determination. At CRLN, Dick has helped to plant and nurture young organizers to carry on the struggle for justice and human rights in Las Americas. And Dan's are not the only seeds in the basket. His daughter, Jenny, who worked at CRLN several years ago, many of you may remember, Jenny has sent pepper seeds from her garden in Guatemala. Another generation is saving and planting seeds of resistance and hope. The produce in the basket was harvested from Dan's garden this week. It includes carrots, beets, sweet potatoes, purple potatoes, onions, and squash. They represent the fruits of the struggle, the joy and solidarity in La Lucha, the abundance of creation and the reality of God's economy where there is enough for all. Dick, we thank you.
All I can say is thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Vicky Cervantes. I'm on the program. Before I introduce our honored guests that we're so lucky to have, I was asked to explain, for those of you who don't know, that La Voz de los de Abajo was founded after Hurricane Mitch in 1998 with the mission of accompanying in solidarity and support the campesino communities and their organizations in Honduras. We've continued that work since then, visiting communities, helping with radio stations, doing everything that we could to help those communities be able to organize themselves because they are in permanent resistance. After the coup in June of 2009, an emergency situation faced us of an emergent need for solidarity and for all of us to step up and stand with the Honduran people. At that time, we found very good compañeros and compañeras ready for action in CRLN here in Chicago. And since that time, we have worked hand in hand with CRLN and with other organizations because the emergency situation in Honduras continues and solidarity must occur. For that reason, CRLN and La Voz de los de Abajo have also continued to work hard since the coup to build the first national expression in the US and Canada of solidarity with Honduras, the Honduras Solidarity Network, which now has more than 30 organizations in the US and Canada committed to walking with the Honduran people. Now, the important part. We are very honored today to have with us Karla Lara, who today is also accompanied by musicians Jose Antonio Velasquez and Danny Morales. Karla, all the years that La Voz de los de Abajo has wandered in Honduras, the music of Karla Lara has always been a part of the resistance and the movement and the hearts of the people. With Karla, we have a musician, a cultural worker who doesn't just sing to the movement, who doesn't simply provide inspiration to the movement, but who has put her own body into the movement, who has put her own feet into the marches, into the protests, and into the resistance movement. We are very honored today to have with us Karla Lara, who doesn't sing to the people, but sings with the people of Honduras. And I hope you will all join me in giving our musicians from Honduras and Karla a very warm welcome.
están? Somos amigas desde hace mucho tiempo con Trino, también Trinidad Sánchez. Trabajamos juntos y juntas hace bastantes años.
She wants to let you know that she worked with me and she worked with my husband, Trinidad, for many years and years ago in Honduras.
Entonces también tiene para mí esta visita a Chicago, la felicidad del reencuentro.
And so for Karla, coming to Chicago has also been the time to come together with us.
Cuéntenme qué es lo que sigue. Ajá. Ustedes van a encontrar ahí y llegó el amor.
The next song, if you just follow along, the very next song is called And Love Came.
Y es pues, esta canción está hecha pensando, es que es tan trágicamente cierto que las mujeres vivimos en desventaja frente a los hombres.
This song was written based on the fact that, and it's unfortunate, that women live at a disadvantage in comparison with men.
En Chicago y en Tegucigalpa.
In Chicago and in Tegucigalpa.
Que hay que darle un poco de humor a la situación.
But sometimes we have to add a little bit of humor to the situation.
Así para nosotras es algo que podemos pues, llevar mejor.
So sometimes it's something that we need to move ahead, move forward.
Y a lo mejor también ustedes entonces, los varones, los señores, los gentlemen, también se animan a que esa relación de poder cambie y sea igual.
And maybe you too, as gentlemen, hope that this kind of relationship will move forward and will move toward equality.
Y tengan la certeza de que eso es profundamente político.
I'm certain that this is profoundly political.
Sí, muy, muy político. Lavar platos es un hecho político fundamental en la vida para que las mujeres podamos, que los hombres lo hagan. Es la posibilidad de que nosotras ocupemos el espacio público de otra forma.
Yes, it's deeply political. Even the act of washing dishes, when the men start washing the dishes, that will mean that women will have the time and the space to take on a public life.
Así que esto se llama Cuidado de la Mano.
So I love Kate.
Dicen que soy voluble, que no siempre ando del mejor humor. Pueda que sea cierto que ya no me río como antes hoy. Cuando era chiquita siempre me decían, cállese usted. Cierre las piernitas, diga buenos días, que se vea bien. Luego fui creciendo en las curvas, saliendo, me iba a enamorar. Ay, qué rico. Y entonces me dijeron, sea recatada, que un hombre bueno se le va a acercar. I said somebody of the NLRC, ¿cómo es? The network. What is the name? Sierra Leone. I was waiting for one of the Sierra Leone. Y llegó el amor. Yo era recatada, él era un buen hombre, todo era feliz. Y llegó el amor. Yo era recatada, él era un buen hombre, todo era feliz. But we have the second part of this story. And believe me, it's not very good. It sounds... Oigan cómo suena. Vinieron los hijos, ya no descansaba, no podía más. De estirar pellejo, de estirar la bolsa, de estirar no más. Ya hasta me costaba ser tan recatada, ser tan servicial. Pues aquel buen hombre ya no se acercaba, no, olvidó el hogar. Estaba yo entonces desesperada. ¿Cómo se dice desesperada en inglés? Desperate, very desperate. So I look for Padre Melo. Don't tell him, please, please, please. Tan desesperada estaba. Me fui para la iglesia, pues quizás el cura me podía orientar. But this is not one of here, because the ones I looked for, he told me. Dijo, no se queje, que así es la vida, vaya usted a rezar. Ay, no, 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 a rezar, no. It's better if I find other women and we talk about our problems. Even in the church, we can talk in the church if you want, but women together, because we need to find our problems together between us. And when that happens. Y llegó el amor que me rescataba de este cuento de hadas y me dio la fuerza para ser mujer. Y llegó el amor y era de la entraña como viento fuerte, como brisa a veces para ser mujer feliz. Ok. Como cantar te propone volverte a preguntar muchísimas cosas de la vida.
Singing leads you to ask many questions about life.
Yo también me pregunté cómo era esto de ser mamá.
I also began to ask questions about what it means to be a mother.
Porque una de verdad que muchas veces piensa que las hijas y los hijos van a ser lo que una no pudo ser.
Because oftentimes we think that our sons and daughters will be what we could not be.
Y a veces pensamos que son nuestra propiedad y que van a ser así. Yo soy doctor, ella va a ser doctora.
Sometimes we think of them as our property, and if I'm a doctor, she will be a doctor.
Porque si no, ¿a quién le dejamos la clínica?
Because if not, to whom am I going to leave the clinic?
Entonces, yo creo que se puede construir un amor que no tenga que ver con la pertenencia.
I think that we can construct love that doesn't have to do with ownership.
Y esta es mi propuesta para que vivamos una maternidad y una paternidad diferente, más desprendida, más desprendida.
And that's my proposal, so that we can live out our motherhood or our fatherhood in a freer way.
Y bueno, muchísimas gracias. Y ese piano que van a escuchar es José Antonio Velázquez. Un aplauso para José. expresada en tu seguridad. Y que lejos puedan volar tus sueños, aunque la distancia sea el precio a pagar. Distancia de kilómetros y de olores, distancia de ciudades y de gustos, distancia de kilómetros y olores, de voluntades e intenciones. Ay, 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 ay. Mi amor no va a decirte lo que sí hace y lo que no. Es un código secreto que te dice que creo en vos. Y es solo un guiño, una sonrisa, una señal que diga que te quiero, que te quiero y que creo en vos. Rechazo la receta de esos amores que te convierten en mi réplica, y defiendo el amor que cada día te hace cómplice de la fe en los demás. Vos creces mientras yo aprendo cómo cambia el mundo, lo cotidiano, lo fundamental, la moda, lo vano y todo. Ay, ay, ay. Mi amor no va a decirte lo que sí hace, lo que no. Es un código secreto que te dice que creo en vos. Mi guía es solo un guiño, una sonrisa,
Y
This song is very short.
vamos a hacerle con esta canción un homenaje a la puya, porque es la misma lucha en Río Blanco, porque es una toma de carretera y una resistencia pacífica en el río Hualcarque que ha garantizado que la represa hidroeléctrica no se instale.
So this is a song about a river. It's a tribute to the fact that the resistance made it possible that the electrical or that the dam to generate electricity was not built.
Al conocimiento, a la fuerza, a todo lo que nos enseñan los pueblos indígenas. A eso se le cantamos en esta canción, porque la sabiduría indígena nos está enseñando que los ríos son las venas de la madre tierra, y si nosotros los apretamos, le pasa lo que le está pasando a la tierra, tiene calentura, está enferma.
And so it's a tribute to the indigenous practices and the indigenous thought that recognizes that the river has a life of its own, just as the earth does, and it has a wisdom and that we can also learn from.
Así que esta es una canción para dignificar también esa otra construcción de poderes, porque el poder ya no es el poder que nos enseñaron de los partidos políticos tradicionales. Los pueblos construyen su autonomía territorial y eso se llama poder.
And this song is also a tribute to the dignity of another kind of power, a kind of power that isn't that of the political parties, a power that can be constructed.
And we are constructing other powers.
And we're building this, we're constructing other powers.
Así que al río Hualcarque y a la memoria de Paula, de Tomás. 5 days ago, Michael, other young boy in Rio Hualcarque, he was killed 5 days ago. So for Michael, for Tomás, for Berta Cáceres, for all the people is fighting you. El río Blanco, el río Hualcarque, que corre el río.
That the river continues to run with love.
Muchísimas gracias.
Corre el río que corra, Paula en su camino y Tomás en el torrente de sus aguas. Que corre el río Hualcarque, Tomás en su corriente y Paula en la alegría que no
Hi, everybody. Hello. Thank you. Yes, my name is Celeste Larkin. I'm the Public Policy Coordinator at CRLN. And can you hear me okay? Yes, okay. Thanks, Dad. That's my dad in the back. So myself and my coworker here, Liz, are here to talk to you today about more action steps. Giving money, sometimes it hurts, but it's the easy part, really. It's getting mobilized that takes some work. And so we're going to challenge y'all to actually do that work today. So one thing, I'm going to direct your attention to the little baskets that you may have just looked through to give your many donations to CRLN. And try to find this little postcard on there that has a little picture of a pig with lipstick. So I've stood up here this is the third year now, and told everybody about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And a lot of the struggles that are happening in Honduras, Colombia, Central America are happening in the face of terrifying neoliberal imperialism. It's no better manifested than in the kind of free trade agreements that have been passed and enforced on the Americas. And the Trans-Pacific Partnership is the newest and largest free trade agreement in history. And the only way that these free trade agreements pass is through a piece of legislation called fast track. And fast track basically means that there is no democratic process to pass some of the largest pieces of international law in our history. And so I'm here today to urge you to call your member of Congress and tell them that fast track legislation is not something that you want to see passed. Right now, I don't know if y'all know what happened on Tuesday. It was an election day. And that means that right now we are in what's called a lame duck session, where there are lots of members of Congress who are either voted out and now don't feel as accountable to their voters or feel pretty safe in their new term. And that means during this lame duck Congress that we have to be extra vigilant, because this is the time when they call pieces of legislation that are very unpopular, like fast track legislation. And now these little postcards. Some people are calling fast track smart track. But do not be fooled, it is just lipstick on a pig. So what I want you to do is sign the back of these postcards where it says name, address, and email, and I personally will make sure that they get to your member of Congress. So go ahead, sign those. I should see a lot of pens waving around. And as you do that, I'm going to make a couple other announcements. Oh, I'm actually going to hand it over to my coworker, Liz, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the immigration work that we're carrying forward.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. My name is Lisa Castillo, and I'm an organizer for the Chicago New Sanctuary Coalition, which is a project of the Chicago Religious Leadership Network. So I've been on staff for about 6 months now, and I started with you all in the summer, and it's been a summer of many, many, many lessons for me. Lessons in terms of where we're going with immigration, and also a number of blessings, including the work that we've been lucky to do with Our Lady of Guadalupe Mission, which has representatives in front of us. I think it's Father Landaverde, Ramiro, Josefina, and Rene might be back there as well. So if I could just get a quick applause for them. So what I wanted to get to is that I've seen a lot of problematic issues just in the course of the last couple of months. As you all have been aware and following, the unaccompanied minors is one situation. But also one other very problematic thing is a number of broken promises that we have. You may remember that at the beginning of the summer, President Obama came out and said that he was going to act on executive action and that he was going to do this by the end of the summer. That was in June. We thought August was going to be the time. He pushed back on that and then said September. When September came around, he told us wait until after the midterm elections. Well, the midterm elections were on Tuesday. And I know that there's a lot of sentiment around the room that times are getting harder and things are going to be rougher, but that's precisely when we need to be louder. And so I'm calling on you at this moment, if you turn to your program books and you look at the third to last page, I have provided you all at the very bottom of that page with a phone number. That is the phone number to leave a comment with President Obama. Now is the time that we need you to call him and remind him that he made a promise and that this promise has to come through. So perhaps we can do this at the very end. We can now actually bust out our phones and make a couple of phone calls and remind him of what the summer has looked like for us, and also the 1,100 people that are getting deported each day, and the reason that we cannot afford to wait one more day. So with that being said, I'll pass it off to Celeste.
And a couple last pieces. You're going to find in the middle of your tables little cards that look like this. And it's your opportunity to tell us what you're interested in doing more. What kind of other actions you want to be taking. So go ahead and fish those out of your middle baskets and check off the boxes of things that you want to be doing in the coming months, in the coming years with CRLN. And just to give you an idea, a couple of things that you'll find in there. There are a few delegations coming up. One is to Guatemala, and Martha Pierce and Sydney Hollander, who are both CRLN board members, are helping to coordinate that effort. And there's a high likelihood that that delegation will visit La Puya, where Miriam is in really deep and important struggle. So you could go with, and you could be part of that delegation. There is also a delegation to El Salvador next spring, and it's the 35th commemoration of the 35th anniversary of the assassination of Archbishop Romero. So it's a very important time to show our solidarity and remain in the struggle and make sure that the U.S. Embassy, the State Department, the School of the Americas understands that we don't forget, and that Oscar Romero and his legacy is still with us. So check that out and check off the box if that's something that you're interested in. There's also a delegation coming up to Cuba. The dates aren't set yet, but if you're one of those people that's like, man, I wish I could go to Cuba, check that little box. And lastly, there's a delegation that we do every year to Washington, D.C., where we do our best to speak truth to power, where we empower each other to go to the halls of Congress and actually tell them what we know is happening and what the real results of our foreign policy, trade policy, and immigration policy are. And that's Ecumenical Advocacy Days. And if that's interesting to you, check that off. And you can also work with me a lot more. So check off the, well, thank you. No, to be able to work with me a lot more, you'd have to check the little box next to the trade justice organizing, because that's what I do. So if that's what you want to do, check that little box as well.
Well, not that Celeste isn't great to work with, but if you want to work with me, Sarah, and Martin that are out there as well, we'd be open to that. You can check off the checkbox that talks about education opportunities and advocacy opportunities as they relate to immigration. And one thing that could entail, we've been working alongside undocumented letter organizations to support individuals who are currently in deportation proceedings. I had the opportunity to speak with Leslie Combs, who's the district director for Representative Jan Schakowsky, and she's gone now, but
Yeah,
she unfortunately had to leave. But at any rate, one thing that we talked about is that there are a lot of cases similar to the one with Our Lady Guadalupe insofar as U-visa applications and certification difficulties. So I guess what I'm trying to bring to light here is that the cases that we are dealing with are cases that need your support. And Beatrice's case only moved forward because she had the support of the community. She had the support of Our Lady Guadalupe and the support of you all who were here, Representative Schakowsky. And so if you're interested in working in cases like that one or other cases that may be in your community, right now in my mind, I'm thinking of two cases that are similar to Beatrice's that are actually from Addison and Waukegan. If there's any folks who would even be interested in learning about that, those are ways of becoming involved. So if you check those boxes, I'm your girl, I'm your contact person, and I'll get that information to you. And lastly, I remind you, please take out your phones and make that phone call. All the information is there. You guys have a script, and you're ready to go, and you're doing it for the 1,100 people that each day are risking deportation.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We have truly been blessed by the stories of resistance that in Honduras by Karla, stories of resistance in Guatemala by Miriam, and reminded now by Reina of the 43 students who were kidnapped and disappeared in Guerrero, Mexico at the end of September. So holding all of these in our hearts, I would like to read a prayer adapted from Tim Loder's Guerrillas of Grace, Voices from the Resistance Movement in Honduras. God of history, So much has happened in Honduras and throughout Latin America during these past years. We've known death and birth. We've been brave and scared. We've hurt, we've helped, we've destroyed, we've created. We've been loyal, we've been betrayed. We've laughed, we've cried. Help us to be a beginning to others, to be a singer to the songless, a storyteller to the aimless, a befriender of the friendless, of assurance to the doubting, of reconciliation to the divided, to become a beginning of freedom for the oppressed, of comfort for the sorrowing, of friendship for the forgotten, to become a beginning of beauty for the forlorn, of peace for the frightened and violent of the earth. Help us to believe in beginnings, to make a beginning, to be a beginning, so that we may not just grow old, but grow new each day of this wild, amazing life you call us to live. Amen.